Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Tech Can't Save Us podcast, brought to you by Literal Humans. As always, I'm Paul David, your host, founder and CEO of Literal Humans, and I'm joined today by Asmaa Bencherif, the founder of Lori. And we're going to talk about fixing trust in consumer health, how Lori is building the AI operating system for patient stories. And we love storytelling at LH. So happy to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You said this is your first in-person podcast recording.
Yes, it is.
I'm sure you're going to smash it. So let's jump in. So I'm going to introduce you, and we're excited to have you here because you're building the AI operating system that makes real-world patient stories and outcomes usable at scale, which is important, helping people find what genuinely works for them in a very crowded consumer healthcare market.
Yeah.
For our audience, Asmaa brings a fascinating perspective to the table with over a decade of experience in customer growth for iconic luxury brands like Van Cleef and Arpels. Am I saying that right? Yeah.
Perfect.
Christian Dior, some of you may have heard of. She's now applying that deep understanding of client psychology and trust building to solve one of healthcare's biggest problems, the lack of verifiable proof in consumer health. So we're going to talk about what proof means there. So welcome to the pod, and let's jump in. So the first question we always ask is kind of a landscape setting question. Yeah. So how can we move past these sort of vague reviews that we see out there to find health products that actually work for people, and how are you kind of addressing that landscape?
I mean, that's the perfect question to get started, because this is exactly the problem that we're solving, right? And I experienced the problem myself as someone who was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition 3 years ago. Obviously, when you get diagnosed with such a condition, you have no idea what you're stepping into.
Yeah.
The diagnosis is very hard to understand, like the condition itself are hard to understand for someone who's not in the medical field. But then you have to take care of it, right? And as I always like to say, health happens outside the doctor's office. It's those moments in between your hospital check-in, your scans, your appointment with your GPs, where you have to take responsibility for the condition that you have. The new reality you kind of have to face, and you're responsible for it. So as I was kind of getting familiar with this new reality, and I started trying to find ways to take care of myself, I ended up on Reddit forums and Facebook groups, just trying to learn from people like me, because I didn't know anyone with multiple sclerosis. And I just wanted to have a real experience, right? From someone who's been there, someone who looks like me, someone who's a woman, someone who's my age. Anyway, something that's relatable, right? Yeah. And then beyond the experience, you also want to kind of learn protocols to apply into your life, ways to reduce inflammation, for example, in my case, any mindfulness practices that I should adopt. And when you start looking for products and services to assist you in those protocols, such as supplements or specific types of practitioners, then it becomes even more difficult to kind of access a very trustworthy experience, structured, organized, because those forums, the quality is not really controlled, and you don't know who's posting, right? So it really started there. That's when I realized there's a problem in the journey of someone who's on a health journey. And the way we can address that is by going to the root, right? To the source of those practitioners, those products, those services. How do they ask their customers for feedback? Ask for feedback, and how it's asked, how it's requested. And for me, it's the responsibility of every single customer who found the product useful or not to kind of give back to the company. Yeah. In a way, you're not only giving back to the company, you're giving back to someone like you who is on a similar journey.
And usually it's like the other way around, right? Where it's like people who have a complaint are the first ones to go to the message board, the first one. And maybe we don't hear from the people who've actually enjoyed the product, gotten a lot of value out of it.
Absolutely. I believe the way to solve for those reviews that are very vague is by asking the right questions and at the right time. When you buy a supplement and you receive a request for a review with one question, which is how was your experience, and you receive that email 2 days after you use the product, you're not going to get a very useful review, because the person hasn't had a chance to really absorb the product and try it. The question is not prompted enough and is not structured and contextualized enough. So to answer your question, I think the answer is in the prompting, how we ask and when we ask it.
So like the right question, the right time. Talk to us about this idea of like proof, right? Like you said that, curated testimonials and influencer reviews that are many of them paid for are essentially useless in some cases, or low use for making health decisions. And you had that experience yourself. So want to understand, you're operating in the space of like trust as like the primary currency. How can you build that trust, and how have you designed Lori to kind of, differentiate itself from other competitors? And like, how are you trying to like push trust into this space of consumer health reviews? Yeah.
I love that question.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We started Lori with building a community of people with autoimmune conditions.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we started.
Yeah.
We met and we would like connect via our experiences. And for me, that's when I realized the only way we can get people to trust us with Lori is by having a point of view on consumer healthcare.
Yeah.
If you look at most review platforms or user-generated platforms, they don't really have a point of view. They onboard companies that sell plates or clothes or makeup or shampoos or whatever kind of consumer product. We only partner with consumer healthcare. We have a point of view on consumer healthcare. My point of view is that it can play a huge role on the journey of someone who's trying to solve for their health, especially, and we will talk about tech and innovation in particular, especially here in the UK. There's an amazing number of non-invasive technology that can help people with Parkinson, with Alzheimer, with so many conditions. And the point of view is that we partner with companies that we trust, that we know are science and evidence-backed. And in a way, a customer who's reading video testimonials or any content that's from Lori can trust that the work has been done in the background to partner with the right kind of company.
So there's like a pre-vetting, and then even within that, or after that, there's still, a deeper review of the product and, folks' experience with it as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And verifying that the person sharing a review is actually a buyer.
Okay.
Because,
how do you verify that? Yeah.
So we have a system that we implement in-house where we review the order number.
Okay.
And basically, this is a massive problem in the UK and in the world, right?
Yeah.
There's an increasing number of rules by the UK government. One of them is ASA that's becoming stricter and stricter because there's so many reviews that can't be verified.
Yeah, fake reviews, bots,
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's a massive problem because when we know the impact of reviews on the purchase decision, like people look at reviews before they decide to buy a product at a level of 90%. Like it's not 15%. It's not like some people.
They look at the reviews at about 90%.
They look, 90% of people in the UK look at the review before they buy a product.
And is there data on how, like the degree to which it influences their decision making? Like, do we have data on that in terms of like post-purchase or?
It's the second most influential after friends and family.
Interesting. Okay, got you. Okay, that makes sense because it's very human, right? It's like ask people around you, then ask other people, and then
Absolutely. And now our world is extending online more than it's extending offline. So your friends and family would be your colleagues.
In the Reddit thread,
They are,
exactly.
They are the people you can relate with online.
Interesting. Did you make friends? First of all, thank you for your vulnerability and transparency about your diagnosis, and I'm so sorry. But it sounds like you're doing amazing things with it, like you're turning it into a journey, so I really appreciate that. I wanted to say that. Did you find friends and like new connections through your journey researching and kind of, explore?
Absolutely. I really did. But I'll tell you, when I was diagnosed, I decided to stop working for a year to take care of my health because it was just too much for me to handle. And during that time, I was going after people who tell remission stories with multiple sclerosis.
Wow,
So I found a couple of TED Talks. I found a couple of long posts on Reddit. Then my mission was to contact those people and find them. Like sometimes the post was 10 years ago, that TED Talk was 12 years ago.
Right.
I would go and find those people, have a conversation with them online, and then have that connection because when you're trying to get better, you need that positive, hopeful energy, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of darkness
online
when it comes to illnesses. For me, I never wanted to have a victim posture. I really wanted to take control. And I also know that your mind has an impact on how your condition progresses. So I've made amazing connections. And then via the Lori community that we've built, which actually were our first kind of founding members of the company, they helped us understand what Lori needs to do in the world.
So you kind of co-design it with people who would be your ideal customers, I guess.
Absolutely. So we had people with multiple sclerosis, ulcerative colitis, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, lupus. So from all over the world, by the way, people that are activists in a way that really spread a positive, message around living with the condition, but doing everything you can to protect your quality of life.
Interesting. Do you have any folks with sickle cell by chance on the platform? Or?
I don't.
That just strikes me as well. I ask because I donate blood on a quarterly basis because I don't have sickle cell, but I understand that they need a lot of blood transfusions and things like that. And I have the subtype. So I'm always like just very curious about learning more about that community. And it strikes me as one that's a chronic disease that people really, but I think they've made recent advances like genetically for the disease. So yeah, maybe another one to add to the community there. Yeah. But let's move into your product, talking about, Lori, you sort of frame it as an AI operating system for real outcomes, right? So I think it'd be good for our audience to kind of understand how you turn personal health stories into usable data. And if you could give us in layman's terms, you take these messy individual stories and turn it into something that is audible and scalable for a brand. How do you do that?
Thank you. I think I'll start by sharing the bigger vision for Lori.
Sure.
And maybe like go narrow. The bigger vision for Lori is to be the place where people find products and services that can help them with their conditions. Yeah. And we want people to do that via the experiences of people like them versus finding a product or a service and then having to go and kind of hunt those real experiences to be like, oh, okay, maybe that's for me or that's not for me. So we want to kind of turn around the marketplace where you're invited to discover experiences that might or might not relate to what you're trying to heal or what you're trying to fix. So that's the ultimate vision. We are an early stage company. Yeah. So we are kind of phasing the development of the company. I would say if we speak again in 3 years and I'm there and I have a platform that's like Trustpilot, but based on real people experiences with videos, audios, written text, but like super detailed, I would be extremely happy to get to that stage. Where we are today is a SaaS business. What we do is that we partner with companies currently really focused on tech, so neurotech, sleep tech. And what we do is that they put us in touch with their customers. We ask them questions that are really aligned with the type of content that we want to create for the company, with the data that we want to create. So it's like a 10-minute interview, like a Google Meet interview, and that is then converted into like shorter assets, 20 seconds, 40 seconds, 60 seconds. We make sure we have the consent from the person who's interviewed.
That was my next question,
Yeah, that's a big part.
Big one, compliance as well.
The conversation is compliant. We make sure that someone doesn't go online and says that this product cured my depression and paid my mortgage. Like things that just don't make sense, right? Yeah. And that can be dangerous for someone who's vulnerable because we're talking about a vulnerable audience here. Yeah. And the rules in the UK, rightly so, are very, very strict on what can be said and what cannot be said.
I'm always blown away by the rigor that health tech needs to. We did some work, you mentioned sleep tech with Aura Ring, they're one of our former clients, and Aura, we had to sit with their research team and just make sure that everything we were putting out on the blog, the Pulse blog, and also supporting their social media team was correct and vetted by experts and things like that. And just really appreciated, it slowed things down, but hopefully so, like, the care and consideration that they put into that. And I think it really made a difference for their current members and for acquiring new members because they knew they could go to the Aura blog and the social media for verified, information to help them improve their sleep, for example. Yeah. So yeah, appreciate that.
It's a massive responsibility. Yeah. This is, we don't have anything more precious than health.
Yeah.
So I really obviously take this responsibility at heart, especially building a company in this space. So we make sure the content is compliant and then we deliver it to the partner, to the brand partner. For them, what it means, what they receive is a library online that's searchable. So their old reality is a Google Drive with like 15 different videos with different lengths, no consent that's attached to each video. The video might be 6 minutes, but we don't know what the video shares exactly. What are the highlights of the video? What are the points raised? What benefits are being shared? What context of the person was their reality? And it makes it very hard to kind of use and reuse.
Sure.
So there's a lot of inefficiencies that we're solving for those lean health tech teams that are usually led by founders as well, mainly clinicians, mainly scientists, neuroscientists, and the marketing part of like selling a product direct to consumers is very far from their knowledge. Yeah. And thank God they are excellent at what they are doing.
Right. Yeah.
So we help them kind of protect the voice of the customer and then help them obviously expose that experience to someone who's looking for a product that need that reassurance before they commit to buying the product. So right now it's software essentially.
And B2B mostly. You're selling into the health tech brands currently. And so you're giving them a platform to talk to their consumer data.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And are you seeing them? Is it helping them improve their products, their customer service, kind of everything?
100%. That's stage 2.
Okay.
Stage 2 is to build the data set, essentially,
Gotcha.
of real world outcomes when it comes to those products and services. So,
and are you specializing in you mentioned, you said sleep tech, femtech, there was a couple of
neurotech.
Neurotech. Okay, gotcha. And any reason you picked those specifically? Or I'd be curious to hear about that.
Absolutely. The reason why is that what I realized having conversations with customers from those companies who trusted us early on is that those are life-changing products.
Yep.
So I've spoken to customers from a vagus nerve stimulator company, for example, and you have people telling you that they haven't slept for 15 years.
Wow.
And since they've been using this product on a daily basis, they were able to kind of live again.
Wow.
So at the moment, we're partnering with companies that have this kind of impact, life-changing impact. And obviously, as we grow, as we scale, we'll open the portfolio to more companies. But it's really, I think for me, what matters is that when you're looking for a product or a service to solve for a symptom, the way you look for a supplement is not the way you look for something that's affecting your fertility or affecting your mental health, right?
Yeah.
So we really want to be helping people who are trying to solve a very important problem that's on the way for them to live their life.
Yeah.
And I think we'll be there for a while, just because from a mission point of view, those are the people that I want to help. Right. That's the person I was. Those are the people who are having endless conversations on Reddit, on Facebook, trying to find a way. And they are the ones who need the most urgent help.
Absolutely. So, and we're kind of going to move into growth strategy a bit now, but is the idea to pivot more B2C or turn towards sort of the end user, the patient, or in the third stage? Walk me through that planning you're doing.
The way we build the money, the business as a company will always be B2B. And that's just a principle. For me, there's enough premium product for the 1%. And the reason why I transitioned in my career is to do something for the 99%.
Sure.
We can't take a year of a sabbatical like I did and move to another country where it's sunny and just relax and meditate and eat gluten-free and all of that. So it's really for people who are, who have families, who have responsibility, a mortgage. They can't stop working. They have to show up.
Yeah.
They might have challenging jobs as well.
Sure, yeah.
So they can't afford a flare-up and just be at home for 2-3 days and all of that. So we are a B2B company as the foundation of the business is a B2B, but our offering to the world, which is the stage 3 that I was sharing with you earlier, the place I want to be in 3 years, will be completely free for people to use. But yes, addressing customers.
Gotcha. And will there be any level of personalization down to the individual, with this free platform? Talk me through that, because it seems like the goal is to get the most sort of personalized, focused information to the right person who needs it at the right time. So I'm curious to hear about that.
You know what? That's the most exciting part.
Yeah.
And I'm actually trying not to think about it
exactly, because you need to focus on
exactly.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But there will absolutely be personalization.
Yeah.
I think as a rule, I just want to reduce that trial and error.
Yeah, 100%.
This is how I would define it best.
And that's such I appreciate that you mentioned that you're not focusing on it now. I mean, at some point you'll need to start building towards it, but I think it's a great lesson for the founders out there in our audience who, hey, focus on getting stage 1 right. And yes, think about how that connects to stage 2 and stage 3. But I think it's so hard, and I speak as a founder myself who likes to chase shiny things, to just focus and to stick with the plan and then complete that and then move on. So good advice there embedded in your comment there. Want to move us into growth strategy and kind of understand, you've got this health tech platform and you're trying to scale it while also maintaining the integrity of the data and compliance and privacy, all that stuff. What would you say are the primary roadblocks that you're encountering, trying to convince health brands to move away from, curated perfection to more authentic, organic feedback loops? And talk to us about funding, talk to us about, building your team. What are all the growth challenges you've seen?
I mean, it's mainly challenges when you're starting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all challenges. Yeah,
And you have to convince yourself that the challenge is the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Yes, of course.
That's where the opportunity lies. So we're working on a very regulated, as regulated as it gets. So compliance is a huge one.
And you have to balance between like that desire for rapid growth, but also the requirements, all the legal and regulatory requirements. Like, talk to us about that. Like, how do you can't move fast and break things, as they say, like in health tech, especially, when the end user is relying on information for their health. Like,
the answer is how we, like, in the way we're building the company. If everything goes to plan, by Q1 2027, I will have 24 clients. 24 clients seems very, very small for a SaaS business.
No, but but if they're B2B, I mean, that's a lot. yeah. Depending on the size,
Depending on the size. For us, it's small. And the reason why I'm sharing that number is because I want this company to grow slowly and sustainably. And that's really how we're looking at the growth.
Yeah.
So we are not aggressively going after market, from now that we have some kind of validation on the problem we're solving and how we're solving it. We're really, really growing super, super slow. And that's because of the regulation. You can't go back from any accident at this stage as an early stage company. So my first answer would be like, we are intentionally growing slow, and that can be painful to grow slow as a founder. You can't recruit the way you want, you can't scale the way you want, and those are the consequences that I'm willing to take. Versus a piece of content that goes out there and that doesn't serve someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or that puts a company that we're working with at reputational risk, because this is a massive part as well of what we need to manage, which is some of those companies have been on R&D for 15 years, and now they're going out to market, direct to consumers. They don't want stakes are very high, very high for them. Some of them are on clinical trials to get NHS pathways or FDA approval. So it's so important that we protect, and that's why the commitment when we work with companies at the moment is that we will take care of their customers during the conversation. It's also like they give you their most precious asset. It's their customers, and you're having a conversation with them. Right now, we're doing like one-to-one conversations. So it's either me or someone from the team. We're having a conversation with those customers. In the future, you can imagine people recording a video async. You can also imagine an AI conversation that's a voice. With 11 Labs, the technology allows to do that now. But the main question that I don't have the answer is, how do you protect the relationship and the compliance as you scale the capture format? Because having it between a person and a person will come with a limitation after a while, depending on how many clients we have. So
And you then just to set the landscape, you're raising right now. You said which round is that you're raising?
It's a pre-seed round. So we raised a friend and family round about a year ago, just to get us to understand what value are we creating, who are we creating it for, and who's willing to pay for it. Those were the three questions. Now we have that answer. We need to kind of onboard more customers at this stage and kind of automate parts of the workflow. And that's why we're raising. So it's a pre-seed round that I started today, actually.
Amazing. Okay. We'll include that in the episode, and hopefully the episode helps you get the word out there to our audience of funders. When do you hope to close that round, and do you have a goal for the round?
Yes. So we're raising 600, a very lean next 12 months runway, and I'm hoping to close it by Q2 this year.
By the end of Q2 this year, gotcha. If you're going to say by Q2, I was like, you've got 2 weeks to go. But would love to hear too about how are partnerships. We've been hearing a lot about partnerships. It sounds like those are kind of critical to your growth strategy. Talk us through that, and just the next year. Tell us if you're focusing more on kind of deep integration with specific partners or health niches, or more broader expansion across the consumer health spectrum. What's the sort of approach, I guess?
Interesting. I would say that right now there's so much to explore within the tech, the health tech space. That's it's part of our inflection points where innovation now is sold to customers directly. This has never happened, right?
And what do you mean? Say more about that. What do you mean by that?
Of course. So before, I would say in the old world, you go to your GP and your GP refers you to a specialist. And then you meet with the specialist. The specialist then kind of presents different options of treatment plans and then shares some recommendations of like a certain app or a certain brand that you can use at home to help you manage whatever symptoms you have. Yeah. Right now, people are buying devices or app subscriptions, decide to go for a certain fertility clinics privately because it's faster. And there's so much knowledge available as well in terms of like what's great and what's not. So when I say, consumer healthcare, direct to consumer is that it's this new reality we live in where you can buy devices that are almost like medical devices. They actually are medical devices, regulated devices that you can use in the comfort of your own home without ever having a conversation with your GP, with the NHS, with any medical doctor. Like now you go and you click and you receive it next week. So this is a new, it's just a new reality, world, right? Like when I was born and I'm 38, that wasn't the case at all. So for example, one of our partners is Samfire Neuroscience, and they developed a PMS and PMDD device. It's a headband that basically helps reduce a period pain and PMS symptoms. So, I mean, if I had that when I was younger, if any woman who's struggling with endometriosis or conditions or just have period pain, like this is a game. So that's amazing that it's sold direct to consumers because it's faster. Right. The problem that it opens is that the responsibility to choose the right product is on the person more than ever.
Yeah. Interesting. And they're awash in all of these. So they're being advertised to more. There's, not great information. Sometimes it's just pure marketing. It's not validated. So it's precisely the problem you're trying to solve. Yeah.
Absolutely. And people are less and less, people trust less and less what the companies would share in terms of marketing material just because they've been lied to for so long.
Right.
So then you have just obviously clinical research, clinical trials, papers, studies that you can read, but you need to have a certain level of education to be able to read those documents, right? And advertising has been the way people discover those products because it's the loudest voice, right? The one you see repetitively everywhere on Instagram, on TikTok, on emails, they are just everywhere at top of mind, and you go and buy it. But those are not the companies that can help you the most.
Right.
It's not because they are the loudest that they are the most, able to answer your specific problem. In a world where 1 out of 6 people have a chronic condition, meaning symptoms that come and go every single week. So I would say the urgency to solve that problem is high. But the path to get to the right product or the right service is becoming increasingly difficult as there is also more companies selling direct to consumers. So there needs to be a filter or a layer that is not a marketplace. There's a lot of marketplaces, right? And they take huge margins to expose those brands. And it's a shelf. It's a digital shelf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily filter on the quality and help people find the right product for their own problems.
Yeah. I was curious about, we're going to have to wrap up with this question, but I had 2 final questions. One is just around like searchability and like discoverability. Like it strikes me that, obviously search is changing a lot. So people are going straight to LLMs and just asking them medical questions and things like that. So be curious how y'all are thinking about that. And then do you see a vision one day of like Lori integrating into platforms like, I don't know, Amazon or whatever platforms where people can buy these medical devices and just sort of being the review partner that like just plugs in and says, okay, we've actually got better, more validated, reviews. Like talk us through how you're thinking about search and discoverability, as you scale.
Thank you. Absolutely. I think that's why we are so focused and we have a point of view on consumer healthcare. Is that there is no leader in the market currently who's like that trusted voice on products and services within consumer healthcare. So that's the ambition. And then, of course, you can be plugged into like whenever people find their products and the services. When it comes to the way we find products and services now, it's changing, obviously. And, most people in this part of the world, at least, are using ChatGPT or Claude to find products. And discovery has completely changed, because you would have, in the old world of a Google search, a list of like 100 websites, and then you just click through. Obviously, the first are the loudest, but you still have access to see the rest. Currently, you have a short list of 4 or 5 products, right? So the main question is, how does those 4 or 5 products are being listed, shortlisted? How do they get shortlisted?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we're looking at.
Okay. Yeah. Seems like a big challenge, like, because everyone, I mean, we work in marketing, everyone's now trying to, okay, what used to be get ranked on Google, now it's like, show up in AI search results. And I resonate with your challenge. It's a big one. So
it's a big one, and we currently don't have the expertise to manage this challenge, but it's definitely in our heads. And the thing that's fundamental for Lori is that I come from a data background, right?
Yeah.
Everything is data.
A
video that's 20 seconds for me is a set of data. So if the data is structured from the get-go, from the building of the company, I believe we will be able to then manage, the shortlisting on and the discovery on AI platforms when the time is right.
Yeah, and maybe conversations even with the platforms themselves about, like, 'cause I know obviously they're being challenged by, okay, are people getting bad advice that's like hurting their health? And so it'd be interesting to see where things go with like the regulation and policy. Yeah, it strikes me that you're well positioned to provide a great service maybe for the Googles and the, ChatGPTs, but it's just a question of how to integrate.
Exactly.
So, I wish you luck on that journey. I think what you're doing is so crucial. Experienced it myself. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and there's just so much out there, and it's just like so confusing, and one advice going this way, another going the other way. So really appreciate and understand what you're doing, and family members as well who are searching for things. So we're gonna have to skip the short questions, but I love that what you're doing is you're amplifying one of the most human things that we have, which is our stories, right? And kind of, taking them and turning them into usable data that people can benefit from other people's stories. And that's like the most human things, that we pass knowledge over generations. So really respect that, appreciate that. How can listeners find out more about Lori on the interwebs?
So right now, as a B2B mainly company, our website is lori.health. I post a lot on LinkedIn and I share my voice or my truth around consumer healthcare overall. So those are the 2 main places. We have lots of plans in like going back to building the community, getting people together in real life. There's nothing more powerful than a story. Like, honestly, most people are going through a health challenge. If it's not you, if it's someone you love, and it's the same. It's the same. It's like it's happening to you. Actually, you wish it happened to you when it's someone you love, which means that 100% of people living in this country are our audience, right? When we started Lori with the community, really on the ground to understand what can support, it was so amazing. Like, I'm just so looking forward to going back to that. So when the time is right, we'll communicate about that. But right now, it's lori.health. And really, like, for people who are on a health journey, or for someone that is supporting someone on a health journey, I really, really invite everyone to like be so committed in the research, because there's so many options. There's so many options to get better. Like, nothing is ever like a dead end. There's always an option. And I think it's about finding that right option. Hopefully one day Lori will be able to cut that trial and error. But while we're building right now, like, research as much as possible, find people who are even like, remotely resonating with what you're going through, and just ask questions and go out there and ask questions, connect with others.
Yeah, and I love it too, that framing it too is like part of the healing process. Like, you went on that journey yourself, and it's a shame that the health community hasn't kind of invested in that, and just getting people together in groups and, talking about it even while they're going through something, and the power that can have as well. So I love that you're doing that and building that into both your product model, but also your sort of marketing and community management model. So, well, thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. It's been great. We'll talk more as you raise and you grow, and we can follow your journey and root for you and support it. And then for our listeners, this has been another great episode of Tech Can't Save Us podcast, brought to you by Literal Humans. Joined today by Asmaa Bencherif, the founder of Lori, talking about building trust in consumer health. Go check them out. Lori's doing amazing work. Please give us a review, give us a 5-star rating so we can keep bringing great founders like Asmaa onto the show. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.